Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the flock rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. We are inching closer to Sunday, 3 days away. We do get regular season football tonight, Chiefs and Lions, so I am pumped for that, but cannot wait for that Ravens-Texans opener at 1 o'clock. And we got some Ravens news. Marlon Humphrey restructured his deal to free the Ravens up some cap room. So let's just dive into the details of that. So the Ravens cleared $7.5 million in cap room yesterday. And that move was basically just to get under compliance. We were $2 million over the cap. This is a move just to be in compliance and have enough flexibility to be able to pay your own guys. I would not look into this move. I don't think $7.5 million is enough for us to be like, oh, we're clearing cap for a Chandler Jones trade or whoever else that you may be eyeing up. I don't think that this individual restructure has anything to do with any of those moves. We're going to need to clear more cap to be able to go make a trade with someone who has a bigger cap hit. And I still think a trade could very well be done before the trade deadline or closer to the trade deadline. Eric DeCosta even touched on that. And I think that there's more restructures to come. We knew that Marlon Humphrey and then Ronnie Stanley and Mark Andrews are probably the most likely to have their contracts restructured, extended, whatever you want to call it. Those are the prime candidates just because they have bigger deals. They have lengthy deals that we plan on keeping them here for a little bit so you can kind of move money around, add some void years if needed. We did add a void year for Marlon Humphrey's contract. So we converted $9.42 million of his $10.5 million base salary into a bonus. And then we added a void year to the deal as well. So in my opinion, this ensures Marlon Humphrey's going to be here for years to come. I think that they trust Marlon Humphrey and want him around and want him a part of this organization. And that's why you restructure guys that are in these long-term deals that you trust. And I don't think they're worried about the foot or the foot surgery. Odafe Owe posted Marlon Humphrey on Instagram, and the foot seemed fine.
Look at that, John. Legs on head. Look at that boy. He feet good too. My knee.
He even made a comment about it. The foot is fine, and they seem like they're all in good spirits. I expect Marlon Humphrey back in these next few weeks for sure. We touched on that yesterday. We didn't put him on IR or PUP. I think he's coming back before week 5. Just because that would make sense with that timeline. I'm hoping he's back week 2, but we'll see. But the restructure is done. We cleared $7.5 million cap room, and I don't think we're done. I think a Mark Andrews and or Ronnie Stanley restructure is also on the way. Probably closer to the trade deadline, though. I think this $7.5 million allows us enough flexibility within our own roster to be able to make smaller transactions. But this $7.5 million is not going to be the savior of cap for us to go make a big splash or a big move. And I'm not sure a big splash financially is even coming. I mean, we obviously have Lamar's contract to think about in the future now moving forward. We have a lot of our core guys already locked up on pretty big deals. Roquan Smith, Marcus Williams, Ronnie Stanley, Mark Andrews, Marlon Humphrey, Lamar. These guys are already locked up on long-term deals with us. So we've paid the core of this team already, and I don't think we have a ton of financial flexibility moving forward. Now, you can always clear more room. You can add these void years. You can constantly keep doing these restructures, but be mindful that that's just pushing the can down the road as well. That doesn't guarantee future cap flexibility. That guarantees cap flexibility in the moment. And you don't want to always live in the moment. You need to think about years to come as well. And I know we'll do that. That's how we consistently stay competitive. The Ravens are really good with cap structure and making these tough business decisions as the years go, but we're always remaining competitive. And I don't think that that's going to change. So in the years coming, I think the draft becomes even more important than it's been. Eric DeCosta's got to hit on these draft picks probably more consistently. We're going to have to draft a corner. We're going to have to really continue to build through the draft. And the draft picks are going to be meaningful. That's going to be how we build the future of this team. Can we get a free agent here and there? Yes. Can we make a trade here and there? Yes. I just don't think it's going to be a Roquan Smith type trade. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be someone that is going to command top value. You know, we've talked about Jair Alexander or these dream corner trades. For one, we don't know if he's available. He's probably not available. You know what I mean? He's such a rare commodity to have a corner like that. But regardless, even if he was, it'd be really tough for us to fit that type of contract into our future. So I think another restructure or two, most likely Mark Andrews and Ronnie Stanley, will come. And I still think we're going to make a trade near the trade deadline just because we've been doing that. And a lot more players become available because teams have already started their season. They know what kind of outlook they're going to have. A guy may be becoming a free agent and they know they're going to lose him, so they're willing to just unload him now so that they can get something. And I do see us pulling the trigger and reacting to a situation like that. I think it may be more of a Marcus Peters type trade where we're finding value and we're only giving up a mid to later round pick rather than a Roquan Smith type splash where we would give up a second, which he's totally worth it, by the way, but a second round pick is also very important. And then you have to pay him top linebacker money right after that. So I just don't see us doing that with a player. I think that we could restructure a couple more contracts and then go make a nice value trade where we kind of steal somebody. You know, we're not giving up a ton. And then they're also, when they have to re-up for a contract, aren't commanding top market value for their position. We can't be resetting the market with more guys. We're going to have to be a little bit more frugal moving forward. And I think that we're fine because we've already got a lot of the important guys locked up. Odell Beckham Jr. is also someone that we could do an extension with, and then that's kind of like a restructure in a way for the future. We could push money around in his contract as well. And I can see an extension with Odell because we added void years onto his deal, and it's only a 1-year deal. We take a $12 million cap hit next year if he's not on our team, regardless. So I think that they would definitely be looking to keep Odell around. Odell seems like he already kind of wants to stay here. So I think that they could do an extension that could also free up and move some money around. We also may extend J.K. Dobbins, but his cap hit is so low already, I don't really see us being able to move his money around. If anything, in the future, his contract and cap hit is going to be higher than it is now. So I don't think that that necessarily helps us. I think it would help our roster keeping J.K. Dobbins here. I would love to see J.K. Dobbins here for the next few years. And I could definitely see an extension getting done. But that's not part of this solving the cap equation and get more flexibility moving forward. I think Odell can play into that. I think restructuring Ronnie and Mark's deal can give us more freedom. We already just did Marlon. The good news is there's a lot of ways we can keep moving money around and clearing cap room. We just don't want to overextend ourselves. That's why I don't think we're going to make a huge splash, at least financially. But that doesn't mean that there's not a disgruntled guy or a guy that's going to leave his team that they're just willing to unload for a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick that we can pay $12 million a year and not reset that position's market value and just get a nice solid deal. Like Marcus Peters is the perfect example. I think that we didn't give up a lot of draft capital for him, and then we signed him to a fair deal. And you know, he's not making top cornerback money, but we got a nice solid few years out of him, and that trade really worked. So I could see a trade similar to that happening this season if we're able to pull it off. Maybe we make a bunch of calls and the price just isn't right and we don't make a trade at all. I'm not guaranteeing a trade. I just think that one's likely. Eric DeCosta has consistently pulled the trigger around the trade deadline, and a lot of the big trades in the NFL are now happening around the trade deadline. That seems to be the way stars are starting to move to different teams, is through trades during the season. We'll see how Eric DeCosta keeps working this cap and how we keep being aggressive, but also keeping the future in mind as well to stay competitive throughout Lamar's contract. And I think we'll be able to do that for sure. We're set up really nice, and the core, like I said, is already locked up, and that's the most important thing. And then we can just keep drafting talent. You know what I mean? If Odell ends up leaving, or let's say Odell will leave in 2-3 years, even if he does extend, right? He's not going to be here forever. He's at least not going to be here producing for years and years and years at a high level. So we might have to draft another wide receiver. If Bateman leaves, we got to keep the funnel going. So these draft picks are going to be very important. We're going to have to draft some corners, and we're going to have to just keep replacing guys because we are going to lose some people. We're not going to be able to pay many more guys top dollar. But like Eric DeCosta mentioned last Friday when he spoke to the media, he said that when there's one of those greats that change the game consistently, we'll find a way to keep those guys here. And those guys right now are Lamar Jackson, Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith, Mark Andrews. I mean, they change the game. They impact the game. They're top 3 at their position in the entire league. And you kind of have to figure out a way to keep guys like that. We might not be able to re-sign a Justin Matabuke or a Dafe Owe maybe when he's up. Just players like that are really solid and really producing for us, but they're not the top of the position. They're not like the all-time greats that you have to keep. So you might have to let some of those guys walk in free agency moving forward as the years go because of the cap situation, because we're keeping so many of the other guys. But that doesn't mean that you can't just keep drafting those positions high in the draft and constantly have a funnel to replace them until you find one of those greats, one of those elite players at their position, and then you make sure you hold on to them. So I think that that's the Ravens strategy. I think that's going to continue to be the Ravens strategy, and I'm for it. We don't have to go all into a fault where we have to start cutting guys 2 years from now just because we added so many void years and we're in cap purgatory. We're not going to have to face that, I don't think. We're being very smart with the decisions that we make. We're not over restructuring too many to clear too much cap, and then we're screwed in the future. I think we're at a really nice balance right now, and our roster is pretty complete. We have to stay healthy, obviously, but we have a really competitive roster. I don't see a way that we're not contending for a Super Bowl as long as we're healthy, and that's all that matters, right? We just want to keep a competitive team year in and year out, and it's always nice to have something to look forward to, and we can trust that with the Ravens as long as we stay healthy. So pretty much it for today, guys. I'll hop back on if anything else comes up, but tomorrow we're doing the Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens game preview. We'll go through all the matchups and make some predictions for the game on Sunday and the $50 giveaway, of course. So look out for that episode tomorrow. And I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.